Our world is just buzzing with all of this complex advice, right? Endless data, life hacks. But what if the clearest guidance, the really good stuff, comes from the simplest stories? That's what we're going to do today. We're diving into some ancient fables to see if they can actually help us with our modern lives. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? But that's our starting point. Can these stories, the ones you probably heard as a kid, actually hold practical lessons for today? Like really relevant stuff? Well, let's find out. Okay, so first up, let's talk about wisdom in simple stories. The basic idea here is that sometimes the most profound truths are hiding right in front of us, in the simplest packages. I bet you remember this one. So you've got this thirsty crow, right? And it finds a jug of water, but the water level is way too low for it to reach. Now, it could just give up and fly away, but it doesn't. It gets smart. It starts dropping pebbles in one by one until the water level rises right up to where it can drink. It's such a great little story about being clever when things get tough. And here's the takeaway, the real moral of the story. It's not just about trying hard, it's about trying smart. It's about creative problem solving. Think about it. That tough project at work, that personal goal you feel stuck on, the answer might not be the most obvious one. But if you think like the crow, with a bit of ingenuity, you can probably get there. So that's a powerful idea, right? Creative problem solving. But you know what? It all kind of falls apart without something even more basic, trust. And that brings us to our next section, the price of a lie. We're talking about something that's so hard to build and just scarily easy to lose. Oh yeah, we all know this one, the boy who cried wolf. He's bored, so for fun, he starts screaming, "Wolf!" The whole village comes running to help, and surprise, no wolf. He does it again. And then, of course, the one time a real wolf shows up, nobody believes him. His genuine cries for help are just noise, and he loses everything. And the moral is just so blunt, isn't it? There's no gray area here. It just says it flat out. We don't believe liars, even when they're telling the truth. Once you break that trust, putting it back together is, well, it's pretty much impossible. And wow, does that hit home today? I mean, we live in an age of misinformation, deep fakes, fake news. Trust is more fragile than it's ever been. A single lie can completely wreck a reputation that took years to build. This old story is basically a survival guide for the modern world. Your integrity isn't just a nice to have, it's everything. So we talked about persistence a little bit earlier, but let's go deeper on that. Because as it turns out, there's more than one way to be persistent, more than one path to success. So check this out. On one side, you've got the classic tortoise and the hare, and on the other, a story that's just as powerful, Thomas Edison and his insane mission to invent the light bulb. We're looking at two totally different ways to get to the finish line. Let's break this down. You've got the tortoise, slow and steady. He just keeps going and he outlasts the hare's flashy talent. Then you have Edison. His approach was totally different. It was all about rapid, relentless failure. I mean, 2,000 failed attempts. His assistant probably saw a mountain of failure. But Edison, he saw 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So the big lesson here is that persistence isn't a single strategy. It's a mindset. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about how kindness is like a boomerang. The energy we put out into the world, good and bad, has a funny way of coming right back at us. Okay, so picture this. There's this little ant, and it's drowning. A dove sees it, drops a leaf in the water, and the ant climbs on. Saved, a simple act of kindness. But then later on, a hunter is sneaking up on that same dove. Just as he's about to throw his net, the ant crawls up and bites him right on the heel. The hunter yelps, drops the net, and the dove flies away, safe. And there it is. One good turn deserves another. It's so simple, right? It just shows you how one tiny, seemingly small act of kindness, something you might not even think twice about, can come back to you in a huge way, maybe even save your life when you need it most. But that boomerang swings both ways. And the flip side, unkindness, well, that might be even more powerful and a lot more permanent, because some damage, you can't undo it. This next story just illustrates it perfectly. There's this boy with a really bad temper, and his dad gives him a task. Every time you lose your temper, hammer a nail into this fence. The first day, 37 nails. Can you even imagine? But over time, he gets better. So his dad gives him a new job. For every day you don't lose your temper, pull one nail out. Eventually, all the nails are gone. But his dad shows him the fence and says, "Look, the nails are gone, but the holes are still there. And that's the point. Angry words are like that. Even when you say you're sorry, the scars, they remain. And all of this, the persistence, the trust, the kindness, it all leads us to our final and maybe the most important lesson of all. It's the ultimate moral, really. All these stories are pointing to one central idea about where real, lasting change actually begins. And believe it or not, that big truth is wrapped up in something as simple as a pencil. There's this great little story called The Parable of the Pencil. Right before a pencil maker puts a new pencil into the box, he tells it 5 things it needs to remember to be useful in the world. Okay, here are the 5 lessons. 1, you need a guiding hand to reach your potential. 2, the painful sharpening is what makes you stronger. 3, you always have the power to erase and correct your mistakes. 4, what's on the inside, your core, is the most important part of you. And 5, no matter what surface you're on, your purpose is to leave your mark. Now think about that for a second. Every single one of those lessons applies directly to us, right? We need mentors, we grow through challenges, we can make amends, our character is what truly matters. It all points inward. It tells us that our real strength, our purpose, it all comes from within. And that leaves us to the ultimate moral of all these stories. There's this one last tale about a king whose feet hurt, so he orders the entire country to be covered in leather. Just an impossible task. But a wise servant comes along and says, "Your Majesty, why don't you just cover your own feet?" And that's the whole point. To make the world a happier place, you start with yourself. You change your own heart, not the whole world. So it leaves us with one last big question. What are you trying to change out there in the world that might be better solved by starting with a change inside yourself?